The 1939 college football season was one of the most tumultuous seasons that there ever was. It was an exciting finish with some great bowl games at the end and some big upsets in the beginning. It had a great time determining the national championship, and it was a sort of a split decision on who was that title. But there were some big names playing in that era in this pre-World War II single platoon system. And we have the results here on Football History Rewind, 1939 college football season, coming up in just a moment.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time.
Hello, my football friends. This is Darren Hayes of PigskinDispatch.com. Welcome once again to the Pigpen, your portal to positive football history, and welcome to another edition of the Football History Rewind, as we are going to go back today into the 1939 college football season and all the great happenings and people that were effective in that season. Now, despite lacking a universally recognized national champion, the 1939 college football season was anything but uneventful. It was a year marked by unexpected twists, dominant teams, and individual brilliance impacting the sport's history. But there were some great players and great teams in there nonetheless. The preseason favorites like Pitt and Notre Dame suffered surprising losses early in the season, shaking up the national landscape. Even the previous year's highly ranked team, TCU, lost at UCLA by the score of 6-2 on September 29th. Such an early game in the season, spiraling the Horned Frogs to a losing season, 3-7 on the year. The year saw the emergence of several strong contenders, though, including Tulane, Cornell, Tennessee, all vying for the top spot in the college football landscape. The University of Tennessee's Volunteers completed a regular season campaign of 10-0 and garnered an invitation into the Rose Bowl. The Vols were the defending national champions, and a run through the schedule in 1939 may have outdone the efforts in 1938. The 1939 Vols version is the last team in NCAA history that went undefeated, untied, and unscored upon in the regular season. Under Coach Robert Neyland's guidance, this team had one of the best versions of itself. They completed what would be their second of 3 consecutive undefeated regular seasons that year. The USC Trojans still have their stalwart coach Howard Jones at this point, now in his 15th season. Southern Cal sported stars such as future College Football Hall of Fame inductee Harry Smith, who in 39 was a consensus first-team pick. Quarterback Grenny Lenshaw was also an All-American, lauded by few publications, and Southern Cal suffered a couple of regular season ties against rival Oregon and UCLA, but still bested the others on the West Coast to have the honor of attending the Rose Bowl for that 1940 New Year's Day game. USC emerged victorious in the Rose Bowl against the talented Tennessee team, boasting a solid defense, and the Trojans blanked the number 3 Vols 14-0 to finish 8-2 on the year. The Big Red of Cornell University finished their regular season bout with an 8-0 record per the Lindhouse system, were selected as the national champions. The Big Red was also retroactively chosen as a co-national champion in the Sagarin ratings. Now, Coach Carl Snavely's squad was invited to the 1940 Rose Bowl, but they declined the bid for academic reasons, as they wanted their players to catch up on schoolwork after a long and grueling season, thus opening the door for Tennessee to represent the East. Cornell had future College Football Hall of Fame tackle Nick Drehos on the freshman team. Drehos was a consensus first-team selection on the 1939 All-American College Football team and was inducted into the Hall in 1981. But this season belonged to the Texas A&M Aggies, who culminated led by consensus All-American fullback John Kimbrough, claiming the Associated Press AP National Championship title. Their undefeated season, featuring a dominant win over the highly ranked Tulane team 14-13 in the Sugar Bowl, had solidified their place as a top team in the eyes of many voters, especially after Tennessee's loss and Cornell's neglect of going into the postseason. Now, the A&M squad went 11-0 and outscored their opponents by a combined total of 212-31. That's a stingy defense. 1939 Texas A&M college football team etched their name in history as one of the most dominant teams of their era, led by a strong defense and a prolific offense. The Aggies marched through the season undefeated, culminating in that national championship victory in that Sugar Bowl win. But there was plenty of great teams, and maybe the A&M was building a dynasty under Homer Norton. This pinnacle of success wasn't a coincidence. Under the guidance of head coach Homer Norton, who entered his sixth year at the helm of A&M, the Aggies had been steadily building a winning culture. Norton's emphasis on the disciplined teamwork and solid running game laying the foundation for the team's dominance in 1939. That season was a masterclass on both defensive prowess and offensive efficiency. The Aggies boasted one of the nation's stingiest defenses, only allowing 1.6 points per game and shutting out 6 of their 11 opponents. This defense of dominance was anchored by the talented line led by Joe Boyd, who served as the team captain of that year. Despite not having a national champion, because there were several teams that had some remarkable seasons, including Tulane that lost that Sugar Bowl 14-13 to Texas A&M. There was also the Iowa Hawkeyes, who were led by Heisman Trophy winner Niall Kinnick. They finished with an impressive 6-1-1 record, falling a little short of what A&M and Cornell did, but nonetheless were a great team altogether. Now, despite of that, the national champions, being undisputed in 1939, it was pivotal for college football, and it showcased the sport's increasing depth and competitiveness, and with the multiple teams vying for that national relevance. And additionally, it paved the way for future discussions and advancements in determining the national championship, shaping the landscape of college football as we know it today. As of course, we got in the 1990s, we got into the BCS. And now we've got into the playoff system, which is expanding and making it more of a relevant and more determined way of determining that national championship. But gosh, was that exciting to go back and look at the 1939 season. Now, we also reviewed Tip Top 25 selection and saw what they did, and they took some national look back and took some modern relevance by ranking the teams, which weren't necessarily done back then. And they show that Cornell and Tulane side by side, Texas A&M and Cornell side by side, that Texas A&M played and defeated more ranked opponents than Cornell did, thus giving them that advantage to become the national champions, even retroactive in their respect, making the case that they should have been undisputed. And I don't disagree with that. I think probably A&M is the national championships. I don't think they share it. Cornell didn't have quite the schedule that A&M did, and they didn't play a postseason game because they declined it. So until next time, everybody, that's our football history rewind for 1939's college football season. Until that next time, have a great gridiron day.
Peeking up at the clock, the time's running down. We're going to go into victory formation, take a knee, and let this baby run out. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow for the next podcast. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Gene Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.